There is nothing you need to hold on to. No unfinished task. No lingering thought that must be resolved before rest. If it feels natural, allow your breathing to become a little slower than it was a moment ago. Not forced, just slightly more generous. And as you settle, imagine a building that most people never notice. It stands on a quiet street where the street lights glow with a soft amber hue, and the sidewalks are rarely hurried. The building is 3 stories tall, made of brick that has faded gently over time. The windows are tall and narrow, and in the evening they glow as though someone inside has decided that harsh lighting is unnecessary. Near the door, mounted at eye level, is a small brass plaque. It is polished, but not obsessively, just enough to reflect a faint suggestion of light. The plaque reads, Interdimensional Department of Lost Socks, Intake and Processing Division. The lettering is simple, no embellishments, no dramatic font, just clarity. The door opens with the soft confidence of something that has opened many times before. Inside, the air feels steady and warm. Not hot, not cold, just comfortably balanced. There is a scent in the room that is difficult to name. It is not fresh laundry exactly. It is more like the memory of laundry. A faint trace of cotton that has been warmed once and then allowed to rest. The entryway is modest. A wooden desk sits against the far wall. On it rests a ledger book with cream-colored pages, a neat stack of intake cards, and a pen that writes smoothly, without hesitation. Behind the desk is a corridor that stretches deeper into the building. The carpet is soft underfoot. The walls are painted in a calm, muted tone, something between warm gray and gentle beige. Framed along the hallway are simple diagrams. They show a sock, then a conveyor, then a shelf. Above each diagram is a small heading, Standard Processing Flow. The diagrams are not decorative. They are instructional. Yet even here, there is no sense of urgency. The corridor leads to the intake desk. The desk is wide and curved at the edges, as though sharp corners were deemed unnecessary in a place devoted to lost things. A single desk lamp casts a pool of amber light over the surface. In that circle of warmth, a conveyor belt moves slowly, not hurriedly, not sluggishly, just steadily. And every so often, a sock arrives. It does not fall. It does not burst into existence. It simply appears, already folded once, resting gently on the moving belt. Each sock is alone. Some are cotton, some wool, some thin and formal, some thick and practical. They all carry the faint stillness of something that was once part of a pair. Behind the desk, sits a clerk. The clerk wears a cardigan that suggests long familiarity with calm places. There is no rush in the clerk's posture. When a sock reaches the desk, the clerk lifts it carefully and places it on a soft felt pad. A small intake card is filled out. Case number, time of arrival, probable origin. The probable origin is written in neat handwriting. Sometimes it is specific. Laundry room, suburban residence, gym locker room, lower bench, bedroom floor, beneath bed frame. Sometimes it is gently uncertain. Likely washer to dryer transition. Possible travel scenario. Unknown threshold event. The phrase threshold event is used frequently here. It suggests that the sock did not simply vanish. It crossed from one place to another, from one context to this quiet department. After the card is clipped to the cuff, the sock continues along the conveyor toward the sorting room. The sorting room is wider. Long wooden tables stretch across the space. Above them hang soft pendant lights that glow without glare. Each table holds shallow trays lined with fabric. The trays are labeled in careful print: athletic, dress, thermal, novelty, everyday, uncertain but hopeful. A second clerk stands at the sorting table. This clerk moves slowly and deliberately. Each sock is lifted, turned gently once in the light, and placed into the appropriate tray. There is no judgment in the sorting. A brightly striped novelty sock is treated with the same attention as a plain grey cotton one. A small ankle sock is handled with the same dignity as a thick winter thermal. The trays slide along subtle grooves in the table. The sound is soft, fabric brushing fabric, wood guiding wood. If you listen carefully, the room has its own quiet rhythm. Lift, turn, place, lift, turn, place. Nothing dramatic, just repetition that feels steady enough to trust. Beyond sorting lies classification. The shelves here are tall and orderly. Each shelf holds curved wooden forms that allow socks to rest upright without strain. Labels run along the edge of every row. Crew, cotton, crew, wool. Ankle, synthetic blend. Knee-high, formal. Winter weight, heavy knit. The shelves are arranged not only by type, but by time. New arrivals stand toward the front. Longer-term residents rest further back. There is no hierarchy implied by this, only chronology. Near the center of classification sits a heavy ledger. The pages are thick and smooth. Each sock's case number is recorded here, along with notes. The notes are observational, never mocking, never sentimental. Faint grass stain, slight thinning at heel, strong elastic integrity, possibly part of commemorative set. Occasionally, the clerk pauses and adjusts a sock's position slightly, not because it demands correction, but because small adjustments are part of maintaining order. There is a quiet satisfaction in alignment. Beyond classification lies the pairing archive. The lighting shifts here, still warm, but softer. The shelves in the archive are divided into drawers. Each drawer is labeled with a case number and a status. Awaiting partner. Partner. Likely in transit. Status complicated. Extended absence. The drawers slide open with a gentle sound. Inside, socks rest side by side with space between them. Enough space to breathe. The department understands that pairing is not simply about matching color or pattern. It is about shared history. Two socks that walked the same floors, that endured the same washing cycles, that stretched and relaxed in rhythm. When a matching partner arrives, sometimes days later, sometimes years, a small bell rings. The bell is soft. It does not startle. It simply announces that something has aligned. Two socks are placed together. Their intake cards are clipped side by side, and they are moved to the reunited shelf. The reunited shelf is not dramatically different from the others, but it carries a subtle sense of completion. Not excitement, just quiet fulfillment. In the far corner of the archive stands a shelf for long-term residents. Among them is a grey wool crew sock who has been here since 1994. His case number is still legible. His elastic has softened slightly over the decades. He stands upright on his wooden form with calm acceptance. Each week, he is rotated gently to preserve structural integrity. The department is thorough like that. Nearby is a bright striped sock who still believes her partner is simply delayed. Her intake card remains clipped carefully to her cuff. Hope is not discouraged here. It is recorded. In another section, a thick thermal sock mentors new arrivals. He does not speak, but his presence is steady. There is comfort in proximity to experience. And always, throughout the building, there is a soft hum. Not mechanical exactly, not electrical. More like the sound of stable air in a large interior space. It does not rise or fall. It simply continues. The hum is the background of the department. The constant reminder that this place functions whether anyone notices it or not. And somewhere, in another dimension entirely, someone opens a dryer and notices that one sock is missing. They search briefly behind the machine, under the basket, inside another load. Then they pause, and they accept, perhaps without knowing why, that the sock has crossed a threshold. Here, in this quiet building, it rests under warm light, labeled, recorded, given a place. Nothing frantic, nothing unresolved, just a steady system that continues its gentle work. If you were to walk a little further past the shelves of classification, you would come to a narrower hallway called receiving. Receiving is not dramatic. It is simply practical. Along one wall are small rolling carts, lined with soft fabric. Along the other wall are shallow drawers filled with spare clips, replacement tags, and neatly bundled twine. The lighting here is slightly dimmer than in sorting, not because anything secret happens, but because this hallway prefers quiet. Receiving is where small irregularities are noticed. A sock that arrives still faintly damp is given a few moments beneath a gentle warming lamp. Not hot, just warm enough to release the last trace of wherever it came from. A sock that has picked up a small burr or bit of thread is placed on a felt mat. A clerk uses delicate tweezers to remove the debris. The motion is careful, unhurried. There is no sense that time is scarce. Occasionally, something arrives that is not technically a sock. A mitten, appearing confident but mistaken. A sleeve from a sweater that traveled further than it intended. A small dishcloth that insists it belongs in classification. These items are never scolded. They are redirected. The department maintains cordial relationships with several adjacent divisions. The Bureau of Missing Gloves, the Office of Displaced Scarves, the Committee for Unaccounted for Buttons. Paperwork is exchanged politely. Nothing escalates. Once a sock passes through receiving, it moves forward with its intake card intact and its small journey acknowledged. Beyond receiving sits a quiet alcove known as the repair table. The repair table is modest. A wooden surface slightly smaller than the intake desk. A lamp with a warmer glow. Small spools of thread arranged in neutral tones. Grey, beige, navy, charcoal. The tools here are simple. A needle, a pair of small scissors, a thimble that has seen years of careful use. Not every sock needs repair, but some arrive with small signs of wear. A thinning at the heel, a seam that has begun to loosen, a tiny hole forming where friction once lived. The repair clerk works slowly, not to restore perfection, only to preserve dignity. The sock is placed gently in a curved cradle so that it can rest without strain. the needle passes through cotton knit with a soft, rhythmic motion. In, out, in, out. The sound is nearly silent, yet if you listen closely, it resembles the quiet stitching of something being made whole enough. The department does not erase a sock's history. It does not remove scuffs or memories of pavement. It simply strengthens what remains. Once repaired, the sock is returned to classification. The intake card is updated with a small note. Reinforced at heel. Structural stability improved. There is something deeply reassuring about that phrase. Structural stability improved. Further inside the building lies the records room. The records room is calm in a different way. Tall bookcases hold heavy ledgers with cream-colored pages. Each page contains a neat handwriting. Case numbers recorded with steady ink. Dates of arrival. Probable origins. Notes regarding texture, elasticity, and fiber blend. The department takes fibers seriously. Cotton, wool, synthetic blends. Each has its own small characteristics, its own tendencies. The records clerk sits at a desk near the center of the room. A small brass lamp glows beside the ledger. The clerk traces each sock's likely journey. Bedroom floor, laundry basket, washing cycle, dryer rotation, threshold event. The phrase threshold event is underlined only once in the entire ledger. It was early in the department's history. The underlining was deemed unnecessary. Everyone here understands what it means. At the far end of the records room stands one of the department's quiet portals. It is circular, not ornate, no swirling colors, no dramatic spark. It looks almost like a slightly blurred window. The air around it shimmers faintly, like heat rising gently from pavement. The portal makes a sound, soft, low, a sustained hum that blends into the building's atmosphere. It is not loud enough to demand attention. It simply exists. Every so often, a sock arrives through this portal and lands gently onto a small receiving pad. No fanfare, no impact, just arrival. The records clerk stands, attaches a case number, and nods as though greeting something expected. Not all socks move quickly through the system. Some remain in classification longer than others. Near the back of the shelves sits a section labeled Extended Absence, Partner Unconfirmed. Here stands a grey wool crew sock who arrived in the winter of 1994. His intake card has softened at the edges. His elastic has relaxed slightly over time. He stands upright on his wooden form with steady composure. Each morning, a clerk rotates him gently, a quarter turn, just enough to distribute pressure evenly. There is no impatience in him. He does not strain toward the portal. He simply stands. Nearby is a small, glittered ankle sock with a faint shimmer that refuses to fade. Her partner has not yet arrived, but her intake card includes the note, "Optimism intact." The department respects that. Hope is not a resource that must be rationed. It is simply recorded. In another row stands a thick thermal sock who has taken it upon himself to serve as a kind of informal guide. New arrivals placed nearby seem to settle more quickly. There is something reassuring about proximity to experience. The thermal sock's intake card contains a small annotation. Voluntary mentorship observed. Even here, kindness is catalogued. If you walk further still, you reach a cabinet labeled Almost Pairs. The Almost Pairs cabinet contains socks that do not match exactly, but resemble one another enough to create a sense of familiarity. A navy sock with small white dots rests beside a charcoal sock with slightly larger dots. Two striped socks from different brands sit in neighboring compartments. They are not true pairs. The department does not pretend they are. But proximity matters. If you must wait, it helps to wait beside something that feels almost known. The drawers in the Almost Pairs cabinet slide open and closed with a whisper. The labels are updated periodically, not because the socks have changed, but because observation is part of care. As evening deepens, the department shifts gently into night intake. The main conveyor slows. The overhead lights dim slightly. The desk lamps remain warm and steady. Night intake has a different rhythm. The socks that arrive after midnight often feel quieter, as though they have traveled further before crossing. They land on the receiving pad without any sense of urgency. The night clerk attaches intake cards with slightly slower motions. The handwriting remains precise. The portal hum becomes more noticeable at night. Not louder, just clearer. Like a building breathing steadily when the world outside has gone still. In night intake, there are fewer arrivals, but the arrivals linger. A small athletic sock arrives with faint traces of red clay. Its intake card reads, "Probable origin, community field." A thin dress sock appears with a faint crease near the ankle. Likely formal event. The night clerk nods at each one. There is no surprise here. only continuity. Somewhere in another dimension, someone pulls a load of laundry from a dryer and counts quietly. 1, 2, 3. Pause. They check again. The missing half is noticed. A moment of confusion, then acceptance. Here, the missing half rests upright on a wooden form under amber light. Its case number written clearly. Its presence acknowledged. No longer misplaced, just relocated. The department does not hurry the world. It does not interfere. It simply receives what crosses, records it, sorts it, places it, and allows time to move gently forward. If you were to pause in the center of the building now, you might notice how steady everything feels. The shelves stand in neat rows. The intake desk glows softly. The portal hum continues in low resonance. There are no sharp sounds, no flashing indicators, only the quiet continuity of administrative care. Even the air feels patient. You can imagine standing there for a moment. No expectations, just observing. Lift, turn, place, stamp, clip, record. The rhythm is gentle, predictable, reliable. And as the department continues its calm work, the building seems to settle even deeper into its own stillness. Nothing urgent, nothing missing. Just a system that knows how to hold what others have lost. Beyond the pairing archive, past the shelves that hold patient cotton and wool in neat, dignified rows, there is another section of the department that few visitors would ever think to ask about. It is called the storage vault. The word vault sounds dramatic. In truth, it is simply a larger room. The ceiling is slightly higher here, the shelves slightly deeper, the lighting slightly softer. The vault holds socks that have been in the department for an extended span of time. Not because they were forgotten, not because they were overlooked, but because their partners have not yet crossed. Each shelf in the vault is labeled by year. The labels are small and neatly printed. There is no melancholy in the arrangement, only chronology. The socks here are rotated weekly. A small clipboard hangs near the entrance of the vault, listing the rotation schedule. Row A, quarter turn. Row B, half turn. Row C, dusting review. The dusting review is thorough but gentle. A soft cloth passes lightly over ribbed cuffs and folded heels. It is less about removing dust and more about acknowledging presence. Among the long-term residents stands Bernard, the grey wool crew sock who arrived in 1994. Bernard's fibers have softened over time. His intake card has been replaced twice due to age. The handwriting remains consistent, elastic stable, fiber thinning consistent with age, partner status unknown. Bernard does not lean. He stands evenly on his wooden form, as though he understands the importance of posture. Once a month, a clerk reads aloud a short summary of his file. Not for Bernard's benefit exactly, more as part of procedural continuity. There is something calming about reviewing records that do not change. Further down the aisle stands a red athletic sock with a faded logo. His intake card reads, probable origin, high school gymnasium, estimated year of arrival, 2007. He rests beside a row of similarly structured socks. They do not match, but they share a certain density. The vault is not silent. The hum that runs through the department seems deeper here, like air moving slowly through larger ducts. It does not fluctuate. It does not pulse. It remains steady. If you were to stand still long enough, the hum would begin to feel less like a sound and more like a presence. Beyond the vault is a narrower stairwell that leads up one floor. The stairs are carpeted in the same muted tone as the corridor near intake. Each step is firm and even, no creaks, no echoes. At the top of the stairs is the observation gallery. The observation gallery overlooks the main floor of classification. From here, one can see the sorting tables below, the intake conveyor, the soft movement of trays sliding along grooves. The gallery is not staffed at all times. It is used primarily during quiet shifts, when a clerk might wish to observe the system as a whole. There are 3 chairs in the gallery. Each chair is upholstered in a fabric that matches the department's palette. Muted brown, soft grey, warm beige. The chairs are arranged facing the railing, not toward each other, because conversation is not required here. Observation is enough. From the gallery, the rhythm of the department becomes more apparent. Arrival, intake, sorting, classification, archiving, arrival, intake, sorting, classification, archiving. The cycle does not accelerate. It does not stall. It simply continues. The observation gallery contains a small shelf of binders labeled Annual Arrival Summaries. Each binder contains statistics. Total arrivals by fiber type. Total reunifications. Average duration before pairing. The numbers are steady. There are fluctuations, of course. Holiday seasons bring slight increases in novelty socks. Winter months increase thermal arrivals. Summer introduces lighter knits, but the department never reacts with alarm. It adjusts shelving space accordingly. The gallery also holds a framed document titled Foundational Principles. The principles are brief. Every sock deserves a record. No arrival is accidental. Reunification is welcome, but not required for dignity. Calm processing preserves structural stability. The document is not decorative. It is laminated for durability. Across the hall from the observation gallery is a smaller room called Documentation Review. This is where intake cards are periodically checked for accuracy. Clerks sit at individual desks with small reading lamps. They review handwriting, confirm case numbers, ensure that fiber descriptions are consistent. A cotton sock must not accidentally be classified as wool. Accuracy matters, but not urgently. In documentation review, the pace is slower still. Pens move across paper in small strokes. Pages turn softly. Occasionally, a clerk adjusts their glasses. No one sighs. No one rushes. If a discrepancy is found, it is corrected with a careful line through the original note and a revised entry beneath. The original note is never erased. History is not removed. It is amended. Downstairs, night intake continues. The portal hum is constant. Another sock arrives. This one pale blue, lightweight. Its intake card reads, Probable origin, coastal residence, trace sand observed. It is placed in the receiving corridor briefly, warmed slightly beneath the gentle lamp, then sorted, then shelved. In the pairing archive, a small bell rings. It is a restrained sound. A clerk retrieves 2 grey dress socks from adjacent drawers. Their intake cards match in fiber, origin, and timeline. The clerk places them side by side, not pressed together, just close enough to acknowledge alignment. The reunited pair is transferred to the reunited shelf. A note is written. Pair confirmed. Processing complete. There is no applause, no celebration, just completion. Back in the vault, Bernard remains steady. The red athletic sock shifts slightly as a clerk performs the weekly quarter turn. The thermal mentor continues his quiet watch near the front of classification. The glittered ankle sock still holds optimism in her intake card. The department does not hurry outcomes. It does not attempt to predict arrivals. It simply maintains readiness. As the hour deepens into later night, the building grows quieter still. The overhead lights dim slightly more. The desk lamps remain warm. The hum remains constant. The conveyor slows, then pauses, not because it has finished, but because there are moments between arrivals, moments when the department simply waits. Waiting here is not tense, it is not anxious, it is simply the space between events. If you imagine standing in the center of the building now, you might feel the stillness more clearly. The shelves stand evenly. The intake desk rests under its lamp. The observation gallery is empty. The vault holds its long-term residents in patient rows. The hum continues. Soft, steady, almost indistinguishable from silence. And somewhere in another dimension, a washing machine spins. A dryer rotates. A basket tips slightly. A threshold event prepares quietly. The department does not strain toward it. It simply remains open, ready. And as the night deepens further, the building settles into a state that is neither awake nor asleep. It is operational, but calm, present, but unhurried. Lift, turn, place, stamp, clip, record. The rhythm persists, even in absence, and you can imagine the entire structure breathing gently in the dark. The interdimensional department of lost socks continues its steady work. Nothing lost, nothing frantic, everything given a place. The later hours of the night are the quietest in the department. Not empty, just softened. The intake conveyor rests between arrivals. The sorting tables are clear for the moment. The shelves stand in their ordered rows, holding cotton, wool, synthetic blends, and novelty knits in steady alignment. The hum of the building feels slightly fuller now. Not louder, just more noticeable, because there is less else happening. If you were to walk once more from the entrance to the deepest room in the department, you would notice how everything seems to move more slowly. The brass plaque near the door reflects only a small trace of lamplight. The corridor carpet absorbs each step. The frame diagrams along the wall remain unchanged. Sock, conveyor, shelf, standard processing flow. At the intake desk, the lamp remains on. Its amber circle of light rests patiently on the wooden surface. The ledger is closed for the moment. The pen lies parallel to the edge of the desk, aligned, waiting. The conveyor belt does not move, but it does not feel abandoned. It feels prepared for the next arrival that will cross a threshold somewhere far away. If you move into the sorting room, you can imagine the faint sound that would return the moment the next sock appears. Lift, turn, place. The rhythm is not gone. it is simply paused. Classification remains upright and steady, each sock supported on its curved wooden form, each intake card clipped neatly at the cuff. If you were to read the intake cards now, in the quiet of this late hour, you might notice how similar they are. Case number, time of arrival, probable origin, each card different in detail, yet identical in structure. There is comfort in that structure, in knowing that every arrival receives the same careful attention. Beyond classification, the pairing archive rests. The almost pairs cabinet is closed. The reunited shelf holds its completed pairs without ceremony. The long-term residents in the vault stand without complaint. Bernard remains upright. The red athletic sock remains steady. The glittered ankle sock remains optimistic. Nothing shifts abruptly. Nothing calls for urgency. The department does not resolve every story. It does not force alignment. It simply holds what has crossed. In the records room, the final entry of the evening has been written, ink drying gently on cream paper. The portal hum continues at its low, constant tone. A shimmer remains visible within its circular frame. The portal does not sleep, but it does not hurry. Some arrivals will come in the early morning hours, others later. The department remains ready. The observation gallery sits empty. 3 chairs facing the railing. A view over the orderly floor below. If someone were to sit there now, they would see a building at rest, but not abandoned. Operational. Composed. Calm. In documentation review, the last binder has been returned to its shelf. The reading lamps have been dimmed. The pages of the ledgers lie flat. History recorded, nothing erased, only amended when necessary. The repair table is tidy, thread spools aligned, needle resting in its small cushion, scissors closed, no loose fibers on the surface. The receiving corridor is clear. The cards stand quietly against the wall. Spare clips organized. Tweezers return to their drawer. The building breathes. That is the only word for it. Breathes. Not with lungs, not with movement you can see, but with that steady low presence of air and hum and stillness that fills large interior spaces at night. If you imagine yourself standing near the center of the department now, you might notice how even the idea of lost feels different here. Lost does not mean gone. It does not mean erased. It does not mean failed. It simply means somewhere else, somewhere that has its own system. its own shelves, its own ledger. Every sock that has crossed into this department has been given a case number, a recorded origin, a place to stand. That is all the department promises. Not dramatic reunions, not guaranteed alignment, just dignity and structure, and a steady rhythm that continues whether noticed or not. Somewhere far away, a dryer finishes its cycle. A door opens. A small hand reaches in and gathers warm fabric. A pause. A count. 1, 2, 3. A small frown, then a shrug. Here, in the vault, an intake card remains clipped. Elastic stable. Fiber intact. Partner unconfirmed. The system does not interpret that as failure. It interprets it as status. And status can change or remain. Both are acceptable here. As the night deepens further, the building grows even quieter. The hum remains. The air remains warm. The lamp at the intake desk casts its soft circle of light. You can imagine that circle growing slightly softer, the edges of the room blurring gently, the shelves becoming less defined, the labels fading into suggestion rather than clarity. Lift, turn, place, stamp, clip, record. The rhythm is still there, even when you no longer picture the hands that move, even when you no longer picture the shelves in rows, even when the building itself becomes only an outline in your mind. The interdimensional department of lost socks continues, steady, ordered, kind in its procedures. Nothing rushed, nothing discarded. Every arrival given time, every record given ink, every fiber given a place to rest. And as you allow the image to soften even more, you might imagine the building viewed from outside once again. 3 stories, brick faded gently by time, tall windows glowing softly against the dark, the brass plaque near the door reflecting the faintest trace of lamplight. Inside, the conveyor will move again. Inside, the portal will hum again. Inside, lift and turn and place will continue in its quiet rhythm. But for now, everything is resting. The department holds its place. The shelves remain aligned. The hum remains steady. Nothing misplaced, nothing urgent. Just a calm system continuing in the dark. You do not need to follow it further. You do not need to check the shelves. You do not need to read the intake cards. The department is steady without you. The hum continues, soft, low, even. The warm light remains, and you can let the building grow smaller in your mind. The shelves fading, the desk lamp dimming, the portal hum becoming just a suggestion, the rhythm continuing somewhere far away, lift, turn, place, stamp, clip, record, then quieter still, until only the steady presence of night remains, and you can rest. The department will continue its gentle work, and you can drift.